Welcome back to the Product Marketing Festival. I hope you're enjoying the content so far. I want to thank you all for joining us and send out an extra special thank you to all our sponsors, partners, speakers and participants who together have made this event possible. Their sessions are bursting with insights to help you level up. But remember, the learning doesn't stop here. If you aren't already, you can become a PMA member and benefit from unlimited access to all this week's content, along with a whole host of other exclusive content and tools. What's more, why not check out Product Marketing Core, our industry-renowned certification? Join hundreds of your PMM peers and get certified today. And remember, have your questions at the ready. Simply post them in the comments section and get awesome advice from our experts. We've got plenty more magic up our sleeves that's guaranteed to blow you away. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the talks.
Your customers are your best spokespeople, so you want to make sure your prospects hear what they have to say. After all, trusted endorsements can drive faster sales cycles and boost marketing conversions, which helps you unlock faster growth. But when it comes to going on the record, even your best customers can go silent, and who can blame them? Partnering on case studies is time-consuming, and it's painful to work through the legal approvals often required. Luckily, there's another way. With Tech Validate by SurveyMonkey, you can easily capture feedback from satisfied customers and transform it into powerful content, like verified case studies, testimonials, and reviews. Want charts that show ROI, cost savings, or competitive differentiation? You got it. With our platform, you'll quickly build an arsenal of highly targeted social proof points, segmented by industry, company size, or buyer persona. You'll get the tools to easily deploy your new customer evidence into top marketing channels and put it in front of your sales team to share with prospects. Plus, there's no need to wait for legal for approvals. With Tech Validate, your customers can opt to share their name or provide testimonials anonymously, with all customer evidence validated by a trusted third party. That's why hundreds of companies, big and small, use Tech Validate to get social proof at scale. Ready to see how it works? Watch our product tour today.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Product Marketing Festival. Thank you so much for joining us, and rounding out our first session of the content day today, we are joined by the fantastic Jen from Tech Validate by SurveyMonkey. Just before I hand over to you, Jen, I just want to remind everyone we are going to be doing a live Q&A at the end of this session. So if there's any bits of feedback, questions, comments that you want to run by Jen, pop them in the chat and I will be posing them to her after the session. So yeah, over to you, Jen.
Wonderful, thank you so much, Rose. And hi there, everyone. My name is Jen Simonson, and I'm a Senior Customer Success Manager at SurveyMonkey. So I'm here to talk to you today about Tech Validate by SurveyMonkey and the value it can bring to sales and marketing teams.
Recording in progress.
By automating their voice of customer initiatives. So we'll talk through why voice of customer is so important to organizations today, and how Tech Validate can help accelerate sales and identify customer advocates. So what is Tech Validate? So essentially, Tech Validate is a marketer's dream tool in the sense of a really targeted set of questions to your customers. And then based on how your customers respond to those questions, you can automatically create marketing and sales content and also identify customer references and advocates at scale. And that's really one of the biggest differentiators between Tech Validate and SurveyMonkey, and Tech Validate and really any other survey tool out there, is this ability to automatically turn your customer feedback into content. And that content really spans across the board in terms of different types of content that you can create. So you can create charts, statistics, case studies, and customer testimonials that are all branded with your logo. They're also branded by Tech Validate. And so that's a big reason why a lot of our customers work with us, is to pull in that third-party validation. So when you do start sharing, these statistics or these testimonials saying all this great stuff about your company, you can cite Tech Validate as the source of that information. And then folks know that you did this third-party research with an outside source and you're not just making up all this great stuff. So let's dive into some of the content that you can create. So looking at the content here, these are some standard type of charts and statistics you can publish from your survey questions. So let's take a look at that chart on the left there. We can reverse engineer that into assuming that Cisco probably asked a question asking, please identify the most impactful benefits you've seen since working with AMP for endpoints. And then each one of those bar lines, that was an answer choice that Cisco included in that question. So you can create those overall chart views for each question, but then you can also publish individual proof points from each of those answer choices as well. So if we're still looking at that chart there, that top line, improved security effectiveness at 86%. If you carry that over to that statement on the left there, on the right, 86% of surveyed customers were able to improve security effectiveness with AMP for endpoints. So you'll notice essentially word for word, the tool is going to pull in those answer choices and create those statements that you can publish. So that's where myself and my team, we spend a lot of time with customers, is in your question design phase and making sure that all of the questions we're asking and all of the answer choices we're including are going to ultimately create content that's impactful and that you want to publish. We can also add competitive spin to some of the questions that we're asking. So a really common way of doing this is just asking your customers to identify your competitors. So if you're looking at that chart on the left there, really common use case, listing out some of your top competitors. And then a really nice feature of Tech Validate is our cross-tabbing feature. So that allows you to cross-tab, say, this competitor question against every other question that we're asking in the survey. And so then you'd be able to create content that says X% of customers that switched from competitor X, these are all of the benefits they've seen since switching to our company. I'd say one of the biggest wins for our customers are the automation of these case studies. So just with a single click of a button, the tool pulls in all of the answers that a single respondent gives to you, and then creates this nice customer snapshot or these case studies. So there's a few ways that we see customers leveraging these. I'd say the top use case is to give these to your sales team. So it's really easy to slice and dice these case studies, find a customer story that's maybe in the same industry or the same job role as a prospect that a sales rep is talking to. And then these are nice kind of conversation starters and talking points to walk through on those conversations that they're having. I've also heard, though, customers are sharing these back with the respondent or back with the customer that gave them that survey response and starting that conversation there. So, say, hey, thanks so much for taking our recent survey. It sounds like you're having a really great experience with us. We have this really nice customer case study from you. Would you be willing to maybe speak to us further and do a longer format case study? So it's a nice way of opening the door to maybe those further references that you can reach out to. And also, these case studies are a really great starting point when we're in that question design phase. So I often ask my customers, think about these case studies. What do you want to highlight in each of these three sections? So there's challenges, use case, and results. So what challenges do you think your customers are experiencing before seeking out your company, before seeking out your solution? What's prompting them to reach out? For that use case section, asking questions around what are the most impactful features or capabilities to your organization? How are you deploying our solution in your day-to-day environment? And then in that results section, asking some questions around the benefits and results they've seen since working with you. So we're trying to create this customer story with the survey questions we're asking, and then you can create these really nice content pieces to publish out from. And then finally, we always recommend including one or two open-ended questions and then giving your customers the ability to type in their own response. And a really nice feature of Tech Validate allows you to slightly make some edits to these statements. So if there's spelling or grammar errors, or if they're ever referring to the product as it, we encourage our customers to go in and make those edits. because ultimately we want you to share these images externally, this content externally, and we know that it needs to look as perfect as possible. So I am a visual learner, and I think it's helpful to see what the actual tool looks like and see how easy it is to create some of this content. So I'm going to hop into the TechValidate platform here. And so after a customer launches a project and they have some survey results back, a few things that we display for you. So we give you some baseline metrics of satisfaction ratings. One of the questions that we include for you is the Net Promoter Score question. So we ask them to rate you on a score of 0 to 10, how likely they are to recommend to a friend or a colleague. So you get a really nice NPS score there, as well as an average rating. And then for publishing content, let's go to this responses by question tab. So this is going to show us every question that we asked in the survey, and then give me the ability to create some content. So let's look at this question 1 here. If I click this charts button next to question 1, it's going to automatically create this chart for me. Has my company logo there, has TechValidate logo there. And then I can modify the view of this chart. I can also filter the data in this chart. So this is another big win with our customers, is the ability to really drill down into the survey responses you're getting. So let's say we want to focus on a particular industry, let's say financial services. And so now those percentages are automatically adjusting for you, as well as the source down below. And then you can also add titles to any of the content that you're creating to really kind of tell the story of what that image is showing. And then let's take a look at some case studies. So if we go to this responses by person tab, this will show us every respondent to the survey. And then a really nice way of filtering your survey responses is actually by your Net Promoter Score that you're getting from your customers. So if I select this promoters filter, I'm asking the tool to only show me customers that scored us as a 9 or a 10 for likely to recommend. So this is really parsing out your happiest customers and making it really easy for you to identify those responses that you probably want to publish content from. So now let's take a look at some of these responses. And if we click into their full name, it's giving me this option here to preview their case study. So when I click on that button, it's automatically creating this really nice customer snapshot for me. So I say this is one of the biggest wins for our customers, is just the automation of these case studies. A lot of times, it can take weeks or even months to get these customers case studies, get approvals, get the time to do the interviews with the customer, write up the case study after. So honestly, within a 2-week, 2 or 4 week turnaround, we can send these surveys out and you can have these case studies ready at your fingertips. And then one last big win for our customers are collecting your reference volunteers. So this is another question that we include in the survey for you is, are any of you willing to be an additional reference for us? And they can select from this list of different activities. So you'll get a list of your reference volunteers here on a project by project basis. But then the tool is also going to start storing all of your reference volunteers in this sidebar here. So it's just a really nice way of building out your reference program, identifying customers in a one-off basis as well. A really common use case I hear from customers is, say your customer success team is having a really great conversation with their customer. They think they'd be a great customer for a case study or a great customer reference. So a common activity there is your CS team could share a TechValidate survey in their follow-up with that customer. And then that's an automatic case study or that's an automatic customer reference that you've identified if they complete that survey. And then I'm going to take it a step further. So for us, the real value of TechValidate comes when our customers start leveraging their content or their survey results in their marketing and sales initiatives. And those use cases really span across the board in terms of, creating social posts, website updates, blog posts, press releases, sales enablement content. There's really no end to where pulling in customer validated content can be impactful for your business. And so let's take a look at a few examples. So Twitter and LinkedIn, those tend to be some really common channels for sharing content, especially in that snackable kind of TechValidate format that you can publish from the tool. A really fun thing that customers adopted a few years ago was hashtag TechFactFriday. So every Friday you could tweet out a fun new quote or a new statistic about your company. Similar use case here for LinkedIn. So seeing a lot of customers share content on their vendor profiles for LinkedIn. You'll notice here, and in that use case we just looked at too, sometimes customers rebrand their survey results. So if you need to fit the design of your web page or whatever resource you're working on, that's totally okay. We just ask that customers are citing back to TechValidate in some way to maintain that third-party validation. And then a really common use case for your sales team too can just be asking them to share content from their own social channels. So sharing from their LinkedIn profiles, their own Twitter, and just reaching out to their own networks that way. And then we're seeing a lot of customers pull in their content into web pages on their websites or product pages for their website. So this is a really great example from Cisco here for their collaboration product for WebEx. So they pulled in a nice quote here, and then they also rebranded some nice statistics. So they're pulling in a 93, 91% there, and then they're simply citing back to TechValidate. So a really great example of rebranding, fitting the design of their web page, but still maintaining that third-party validation. And then Cisco also took this citation a step further. So if I click on this source TechValidate, Cisco embedded the public page for that statistic. So the idea behind this is it's putting more attention on that third-party validation. So now folks can travel to a third site and say, hey, Cisco did actually do this research with TechValidate. But I also like to point this out. You'll notice that Cisco only has a source of 34 there. So a lot of times customers come in and they wonder, you know, what needs to be statistically relevant in terms of a source size in order to share that type of content. And I like to remind customers, you know, with TechValidate, we really are targeting your happiest and your most engaged customers. And we're also targeting really specific customers. So it shouldn't always be expected that you're going to have hundreds and hundreds of customers using a certain feature, a certain product. We really are reaching out, trying to get the best of the best customer stories. So a lot of times, you know, sometimes customers will only get 10 to 20 responses back. And a really common use case of that is just maybe rebranding it and hiding a smaller source size behind a citation like source TechValidate. One other example here, so this is a great blog post from Google Cloud. They did more of a thought leadership type survey. So instead of asking questions specific to their brand, they were really reaching out to their customers and asking about, you know, what type of improvements are they looking for from the industry, and really positioning themselves as a leader in that space coming out of these thought leadership type of results. So they pulled in some nice percentages here and a few quotes, and then they're simply citing TechValidate in the source down below. So it's entirely up to our customers, you know, how much attention they want to put on that citation or put on that source. Some customers include a small paragraph about us, and other customers include us in the site a small print citation. It's really all what kind of use case you're working on. And then with just a few minutes left here, I also want to show our Salesforce integration. So this is really helpful for enabling your sales team to actually use the content that you're creating. So we all know that sometimes it can be difficult, you know, getting sales folks to go to different resources or different platforms to get content. So what this Salesforce integration does is it pulls in this TechValidate tab that anybody can add to their navigation toolbar. And then it's just directly mirroring all of the content that you're creating inside TechValidate and then pushing that through to Salesforce. And so what's really nice behind this is now your sales team is enabled to find, you know, those customer stories that they need. So say they have a prospect call coming up with a certain type of job role and maybe a certain type of company size, they can apply those own filters themselves and then find those case studies that they need. And so I'm going to land here on this last page here. And I would love to connect with anybody else after this session. I've been working with TechValidate for 6 years now, so I cannot say enough good things about it. And yeah, definitely see the value that it's brought to our customers. So thank you all for your time.
It's a fantastic session, Jen, and thank you so much for taking us through all those different use cases and examples. It's great to see it kind of come to life. We've got a couple of questions that I'd just love to run through with you. So the first one is going to be from Dan, and it says, are your customers able to review and approve the content before it is published in the Tech Validate library?
Absolutely. So all of your survey results they're not public until you hit that publish button. And before you hit publish, you have full capabilities to even like reword some of those statements. If there's a negative sentiment that your customers have included in their response, you can actually remove that negative sentiment when you're publishing. But we do have a content team that reviews all content that our customers are publishing. So we are staying true to that unbiased third-party source where, we don't allow customers to just make up statements or make up quotes. We really do try and stick to those spelling and grammar errors.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's also been a lot of chatter about actually the difficulty there is sometimes in collecting customer testimonials and case studies and things like that. So I wondered if you had any tips to share with the group on how to actually get those case studies to work with.
Yeah. So in terms of, the audience that we're reaching out to with Tech Validate, we really do recommend kind of cherry picking that list. So, it's okay to maybe exclude customers that, are not having a great experience. We recommend, if you have any current NPS data on your customers, any sort of information on customers that are really happy, those customers tend to be more likely to respond to Tech Validate surveys. Also, customers that are just recently engaged with your company. So, if you're able to pull a list of contacts that have reached out to a support team or an account management team within the last 6 to 9 months, they're already actively engaging with the company, so they're more likely to respond. And then in terms of, the case studies that you get from those responses, that's what our team is also there to help our customers in, is we want to make sure that the questions we're asking in the survey are going to create a case study. So we don't ask internal type of questions like what type of improvements do you want to see? How satisfied are you with this? We really are trying to get to that customer story in terms of challenges that you're solving for them and the benefits that they're seeing.
Yeah, definitely. I guess it's just really defining the difference between, kind of user research and product research versus what is a customer case study and kind of utilizing that as a product marketer.
Exactly.
Amazing. Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much for the session again, Jen. It was really informative. And like Jen mentioned, feel free to reach out to her or the Tech Validate team with any further questions. And yeah, I just want to say a massive thank you again. We are wrapping up now, but we will be back live in 1 hour's time for an awesome session then. So do join us then. Have a quick break, have a quick refresher. And thanks again, Jen.
Thank you, Rose. Bye, everyone.